With the WINN FM News, I am Kevin Brown.
And I am Yulana Weeks.
Our top stories.
NEVLEC to implement grid code and battery energy storage systems. Dr. Jensen Morton anticipates that the digitization of St. Kitts and Nevis's health system would be a hallmark achievement.
Traffic Department issues traffic flow instructions for the opening of Sugar Mass 53 and Midnight Escape. Future engagements, SIDS on the path to COP30. Fatal shooting in Castries, St. Lucia heightens crime concerns. Guyana government wants faster results in the fight against corruption in the country. Internationally, Israel confirms attack on Syrian naval fleet. Now, the details.
There is a need to create an integrated and comprehensive system of citizens' health information that will allow the government of St. Kitts and Nevis to make prudent decisions in addressing health-related challenges and also allow for greater efficiency, accessibility, and transparency in the health system. It has been almost 2 decades since the first attempt was made at digitizing the health system. Despite assistance from St. Kitts and Nevis's 41-year diplomatic partner Taiwan, the project had been in the infancy stage for a long time. Director of Health Institutions in the Ministry of Health, St. Kitts and Nevis, Dr. Jensen Morton, discussed the digitization of the health sector during a WINN exclusive on December 10. He explained that over the years, multiple attempts were made to revive the project, but different challenges caused those attempts to fail.
So with regards to digitization, the first attempt at digitizing healthcare in St. Kitts actually occurred way back in 2006. And it was a full attempt, it was a full thrust forward, but there were a few hiccups there. On the one hand, it was not strongly supported by some key figures at the time, key figures or key members of staff at the time. And for two, there were some lacks with regards to the overall infrastructural framework that would have been needed for the system to be successful. Those two things proved to be a serious challenge. So it was put on the back burner. It was rekindled in 2016, and both times it was done with the assistance of the Republic of China and Taiwan. And it was rekindled in 2016 by the Republic of China and Taiwan. It was a significant investment that would have been garnered to that date to the tune of hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars to try to get this project up and running. But in the second attempt in 2016, again, some hiccups were run into, and again, the project was shelved.
The implementation of the health records system in St. Kitts and Nevis has been long overdue, and the aim is to see the project to fruition, Morton said.
So now with our dispensation and with us coming on stream, and as time has progressed, the need for an electronic medical record system, it is no longer something that's novel, and it's no longer something that's internationally groundbreaking. It's actually a case in which we inherited an analog system of running a healthcare institution and a Ministry of Health on a whole. And we are actually now behind when compared to the rest of the region. All of the other islands from years back, bit by bit, they were able to put in some form of electronic health record system. And now we are one of the last in the region that is still using paper-based forms and paper on a whole for the bulk of our medical records. So as part of our accreditation goals, of course, it also involves having a high level of efficiency with regards to the management of patient information, the ordering of tests, and the management of medical records of patients. So we are going forth with this project 110%.
To accommodate the high-functioning electronic health record system, the Ministry of Health upgraded its infrastructural framework with a fiber optic system, courtesy of the cable, and a team of information technology experts. Having addressed the connectivity issues, the software, which had been presented by Taiwan, is undergoing upgrades and updates to meet the demands of the health professionals and staff that will be utilizing the system. To drive a secure and sustainable digital transformation health system, the government, through the Ministry of Health, aims to equip all hospitals, health centers, and other health units with advanced technological devices and training opportunities. The Ministry of Health anticipates that the Electronic Health Record EHR system will be activated in 2025.
After the software has been finalized, the next step would be the installation of the different devices and the installation of the software on those different devices. So it's going to be the distribution of tablets and the installation of computers in all of the multiple departments throughout the entirety of the health system, So that would be every department, every ward, every health center, all of the peripheral sites. After that part is done, or whilst that is being done, the next stage would be the training of the staff. So bit by bit, all of the staff members will have to then be trained in the utilization of the digital health record system, such that persons get accustomed to inputting information, accustomed to knowing how to retrieve information, accustomed to knowing how to update information, how to order tests, how to read the test digitally, how to do basic troubleshooting, and all of those things. All of that is going to be the focus for 2025. So the staff will be trained, and there's going to be continuous medical education with regards to the continuous training of the staff on the EHR system. And then the final step, which we think is going to be ready by the end of the second quarter of 2025, would be the full-blown launch of that digitization for the benefit of the citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis.
The health records system will benefit health professionals and patients alike. It will offer digital intelligence to health professionals so that they can respond to emergency-related incidents. Morton said members of the general public would have their part to play to ensure that their information is registered in the system.
We'll be asking citizens, whilst they're still healthy, to bit by bit make their way to the nearest health institution when the time comes, so that we can get your information registered for you before you enter into a period of crisis or need, such that when you have your emergency and you enter the hospital with nothing more than knowing your name or an ID number, because ID cards will also be used, but with knowing just a name or an ID number or some basic demographic information, we can find and pull up your file in a matter of seconds with the entirety of your medical history, such that we can get a clearer picture as to what is happening with you immediately without the need to overly pester and overly question you on a multitude of things that maybe we would have asked you in the past. That's one of the big benefits. And also other things with regards to the generation of medical reports, it becomes a lot faster and it becomes a lot easier. With regards to the decrease in errors secondary to issues of handwriting, it's decreased because errors secondary to typos are far less common than errors secondary to handwriting, and we will aim to keep all errors to an absolute minimum, and it just improves everything with every aspect of your health, nearly everything, with every aspect of your health system.
The health records system reflects St. Kitts and Nevis's growing interest in strengthening health services as part of the Federation's Sustainable Island State agenda. Dr. Morton said it would be a hallmark achievement. The Nevis Electricity Company, NEVLEC, will be developing a grid code to ensure the safety, solidity, and efficiency of the electricity supply in Nevis. While he welcomes the growing adaptation to clean energy solutions, Premier Mark Brantley, during his fiscal year 2025 budget presentation, explained that the need arises to regulate the functioning of customers or clients in the power system.
We are aware that individuals and business entities are also taking the initiative to diversify into the area of renewables by installing rooftop solar panels to supplement their energy needs while remaining connected to our grid system. I want to emphasize that while people are putting solar panels on their businesses and residences, they are still remaining connected to the NEVLEC system. While we welcome their push for diversity, there is a need for us now to develop a grid code which will regulate how these entities will enter and exit the NEVLEC grid system. I must advise that NEVLEC will immediately institute a monthly standing charge for consumers who are installing their own alternative power but remain connected to the grid.
In case of any mishaps, the grid code would make provisions to ensure grid security for clients.
You would recognize that your continued connection to the grid is serving as backup power for your entity in the event of failure of your system. This requires NEVLEC to always keep spare capacity on hand to facilitate your immediate return to the grid if your private system fails. The ability to facilitate your immediate return to the grid without negatively affecting existing consumers will come at a cost to NEVLEC, which has to be shared by you. Put differently, there will be a cost for you to stay connected to the grid for backup power. Further details of this will be included in the proposed grid code.
The grid code is expected to focus on operational measures and technological advancements and also prioritize safety and global best practices.
This grid code will outline the technical and operational standards for the generation, transmission, and distribution of electricity. It will provide guidelines for integrating renewable energy sources into the grid, ensure adherence to safety standards that protect both the infrastructure and the public, and serve to reduce the risks of accidents while ensuring compliance with international best practices.
Meanwhile, NEVLEC intends to implement battery energy storage systems, which will herald a new era for Nevis's energy sector when it is placed online.
Madam President, NEVLEC is also advancing its effort to implement battery storage systems in support of the integration of renewables into our energy supply. This system seeks to store excess energy generated from the renewable sources, such as solar and wind power, to provide immediate emergency backup power in the event of outages or disruptions, enhancing the resilience of the electricity supply. Put differently, we're now going to invest in some battery backup. The stored energy will also provide essential support for grid stability by balancing supply and demand, particularly during the peak usage period. It is expected that this battery storage system will be located at the renewable energy project site, allowing for efficient energy storage of excess energy generated during low load periods for further use during peak demand periods. A battery storage installation is also planned for the Prospect Power Plant site to provide backup and spinning reserve support for existing generation sets.
NEVLEC is actively pursuing several renewable energy projects as short-term responses to energy woes, as well as the long-awaited geothermal energy project.
The Traffic Department of the St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force has issued essential traffic flow instructions in anticipation of the upcoming events, the opening of Sugar Mass 53 and Midnight Escape, which are set to take place on December 13th, 2024. The announcement was made during the Traffic Talk segment of WINN's Island Tea on December 9th, 2024. The hosts, Cortensia and Jamsta, engaged with Sergeant Sophia Henry from the Traffic Department to discuss significant changes to traffic patterns due to these festive occasions. The celebrations are planned to occur in two key locations: the Circus for the Carnival opening and Bear Road for the Midnight Escape, the long stretch of road from Shoreline Plaza to Ready Fry, which will provide an expansive area impacted by the festivities. With the simultaneous scheduling of the Carnival opening and Midnight Escape and VAT-reduced day on December 13th, Sergeant Henry confirmed a potential uptick in traffic congestion around these events. The Traffic Department announced crucial regulations, including fully closing Bear Road to vehicular traffic between College Street and Adlam Street. This area has been designated as a hotspot for festivities and is expected to draw significant crowds, necessitating increased safety measures.
The Bear Road will be closed to vehicular traffic between College Street and Adlam Street. Adlam Street is where the old cinema is, or where Ready Fry is. That street is Adlam Street. So from College Street on to Adlam Street, no vehicular traffic will be allowed to traverse that area. And the reason for this is because they have something up 4th Street also, so we had to block off that whole thing.
Further details on traffic restrictions include prohibition on vehicular access to Bank Street and limitations on routes through West Independence Square. Motorists coming from West Independence Square Street will be permitted to turn right onto Central Street, bypassing potential bottlenecks in the congested areas.
So you'll be able to turn right onto Central Street going across by National Bank, Jamster. And when you come down, you can turn left onto South Independence Square Street as usual. Left turn prohibition onto Liverpool Road will be restricted.
Concerns about drivers' safety, Sergeant Henry reminded the public about the risks associated with alcohol consumption, particularly during the holiday season.
If you're going to be the driver and you're going to drink, make sure you have a responsible person or designated driver to drive your vehicle.
Even individuals just holding the keys or behind the steering wheel while under the influence could be at risk of DUI charges.
You can be charged because you're in charge of that vehicle at the time.
To address potential confusion regarding traffic directions, JAMSA proposed implementing electronic billboards for real-time updates. While Sergeant Henry acknowledged the suggestion, she pointed out that they usually cover signs temporarily to inform the public about altered traffic routes.
But when they go across, the sign will be there that they cannot go no further.
Reassuring users that clear instructions would be posted along the routes. The community is advised to adhere strictly to these updated traffic arrangements and to remain vigilant while navigating the festivities. The police department will monitor the flow of traffic, ensuring a safe and enjoyable experience for all participants in the Sugar Mass 53 festivities. With COP30 on the horizon, the Caribbean Climate Smart Accelerator CCSA is preparing to advocate on behalf of small island developing states SIDS in light of the outcomes observed at COP29. During a press conference on November 29, 2024, Raquel Moses and Cheryl Senhouse emphasized the importance of strategic planning as they seek to ensure the unique challenges SIDS face are adequately addressed in future climate negotiations. Moses highlighted the necessity of taking proactive steps to prepare for COP30, noting that
the work towards COP30 and producing results for COP30 starts today.
She discussed the ongoing efforts to raise awareness about the Climate Smart Map, a tool designed to provide insights into climate adaptation strategies in the Caribbean. Both climate justice advocates agreed that one of CCSA's primary objectives is to continue operationalizing the Loss and Damage Fund established in COP28. The success of this fund is critical for SIDS as it is intended to assist countries in addressing climate impacts that cannot be adapted to.
In our region alone, with 54% of territories reporting, we estimate that the need for loss and damage funding exceeds 17 billion. That's from the data on our Climate Smart Map. And even that figure may be underreported.
Moses asserted, referring to the urgency of mobilizing adequate financial support as the CCSA approaches COP30, strengthening collaborations with global partners and advocating for equitable financial commitments will be a focal point of their strategy. Senhouse reinforced that adding transparency and clarity to funding allocations will be crucial for building trust and ensuring aid reaches those who need it most.
We've seen some changes as well at the level, for instance, of the Green Climate Fund in terms of the reduction in the bureaucracy that is involved in accessing funding from that agency and their key finance and deployment agency for climate action. So we want to see and support continued advocacy for those reforms. Those reforms are going to be critical to unlocking finance for our states and finance that can be put towards enriching the lives of our people and building resilience so that we're able to withstand the challenges of climate change.
The CCSA leaders are confident that they can mobilize the necessary resources to drive resilient climate strategies for the Caribbean through sustained advocacy. As preparations intensify for the upcoming conference, Moses and Senhouse reiterated their commitment to facilitating meaningful dialogue and building partnerships to contribute to a more sustainable and equitable future for SIDS. The dialogue surrounding climate change and its impacts continues, and the CCSA is poised to lead the charge for Caribbean nations globally. In regional news, fatal shooting in Castries, St. Lucia heightens crime concerns. DBS St. Lucia has that story.
The island's homicide toll has risen to 73. 43-year-old Vernon Auguste, alias Fat Dog of Wapatat, Castries, was discovered with multiple gunshot wounds about his body at Waterworks Road, Castries, late Sunday morning. He was pronounced dead on the scene by a medical practitioner. The family of Auguste did not want to speak to reporters. However, those living in the community and in nearby communities where the incident unfolded say they are disturbed by the level of crime on island.
Well, I can do nothing about that because the government alone not doing nothing. So, it's just killing and killing and killing and killing, you know. So, That's it.
You as a citizen feel safe in the country?
No way. Because some of that person on the road, like the show say, I don't like to pass there at all. At all. Every day is a shooting and not finishing.
Compared when I was young, I walking going, I not even look at behind me because everything was all right. It didn't have it didn't have this crime really. The only thing maybe you will find maybe some more or less in those in my days maybe a lot of I'll say Garcia and this thing, but now. I walk every day. I have to be looking near me somebody coming because of what's taking place right now.
It's bad, bro. It's bad for the island. It's bad for the country, you know. And it's when the Lord can put a hand that man put the trust in God. God is our source of strength. We all go through stresses, you know, in life. All challenges, but boy, without God in our life, we nowhere at all, bro.
Reports indicate that later on the same day, another shooting took place in the area, resulting in a non-national sustaining injuries. Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre says his administration continues to give the police the necessary resources to fight crime. Now he says the RSLPF is looking for 50 to 60 special police constables.
What I know is that we continue aggressively pursuing crime, aggressively pursuing the people who are committing crimes. The police announced this morning that they have 45 arrests of people for gun crimes. On the 17th of December, 79 new recruits are going to be put on the streets. I mean, going to be come from school, from police training school. We have already put out a call for another 80. So between now and 6 months from January, now in June, there are going to be about 160 new recruits, 160 new policemen on the road, 160 new policemen on the road.
Police are investigating both incidents. Anyone with information is asked to contact the Criminal Investigations Department at 456-3770 or 456-3817. Anonymous tips can be provided by dialing the crime hotline 555 or via the RSLPF Crime Hotline app. For the DBS News World, Miriam Montoot reporting.
Guyana government wants faster results in the fight against corruption in the country. Guyana News Source reports.
The government of Guyana is hoping that its efforts to weed out corruption will happen at a faster pace, according to Minister of Governance Gail Teixeira. At the opening of an anti-money laundering and corruption expo, Minister Teixeira acknowledged that more cases of corruption could occur, even as the government improves its anti-corruption efforts. She said real efforts are now on the way to strengthen institutions to help with the fight against corruption in Guyana.
The issue is that as we go forward in the anti-corruption fight, and as we get better, stronger in our investigation, prosecution, that we will be able to find more cases. But the issue is that we have to focus, and that is why the panel discussion at 11:30 is on building resilient institutions against corruption. How do we keep ensuring that the various, about 16 agencies are involved in anti-corruption in Guyana, that these are strengthened, they have good training, they have skills, they have technical resources, so they can do good work.
The minister also said the country has made steady progress both in the fight against corruption and the respect for human rights, where she said the basic human rights are now afforded to citizens at a more faster rate. However, she noted that where there are gaps, the administration is working to ensure that those gaps are rectified without casting blame.
It's always government responsibility. Government has responsibility, cannot deny that. But when it comes to protection of human rights and anti-corruption, this is the responsibility of all of us as citizens. And so we talk about all of society approach to these issues.
Teixeira said when it comes to corruption, the country has reached a point where persons must not feel that they have to pay a bribe to get certain things done. The two-day event is being hosted to observe both International Human Rights Day and International Anti-Corruption Day. Prime Minister Mark Phillips believes that local advocacy is crucial to promote human rights and the fight against corruption.
It's interesting that we link human rights and the work we're doing in that area with anti-corruption activities in Guyana. And all perceivable anti-corruption actions that you could take, we're either promoting or advocating through the government of Guyana's programs and also working in collaboration with many private sector agencies.
The government of Guyana continues to face widespread criticism over claims of corruption taking place in several government departments and agencies.
We now bring you these international reports.
Israel says it has destroyed Syria's naval fleet. The defense minister warned Islamist rebels who overthrew Bashar al-Assad that his country would never allow terrorists to threaten Israel. Syria's neighbours and the UN have called for the Israeli attacks to stop. BBC Verify's Merlin Thomas has been analysing footage on social media to find out more.
Since the fall of the Syrian President Bashar al-Assad, Israel has been carrying out airstrikes in Syria. And they said they've been deploying troops in the buffer zone, the demilitarized area on the Syrian border. Now let me show you what that looks like on the map. So the Golan Heights are an area that Israel seized in the Six-Day War in 1967 and unilaterally annexed in 1981. The move wasn't recognized internationally. And at BBC Verify, we've seen evidence that they've moved beyond the buffer zone into Syria. This is an image of an Israeli soldier which we verified, and he appears to be about 700 meters outside the buffer zone in Syria. Now, we located him by matching his photo up with publicly available images, very distinctive features. So, for example, there is a road, this trench, and this hill, which confirms that this is the spot it was taken. And we've also verified footage of what appears to be a convoy of Israeli army vehicles in the village of Kutna in Syria, close to the photo of the soldier you've just seen, which is also in Syria outside the buffer zone. The Israeli army said their ground forces are focused on the buffer zone, but said there could be forces operating in tactical points adjacent to it on the Syrian border. And we've also been analysing video of strikes in Syria since the 8th of December in these areas that you can see here in the points in red, including strike overnight in the port of Latakia in western Syria, which is used by the Syrian Navy. The aftermath. Several ships and equipment left badly damaged and on fire. The Israeli defense minister said its navy destroyed the Syrian fleet. We've also verified video of a strike on a research center in the outskirts of Damascus. The aftermath of that strike. At least one of the main buildings of the center has been completely destroyed. And this is a crucial site because, according to the UN watchdog, it led the country's chemical weapons program. And traces of those weapons had been found at the centre in 2019 by that same watchdog, long after Syria had declared it had destroyed its stockpile. The UN found that chemical weapons were used by Assad in Syria, including in the capital Damascus in 2014, which reportedly killed hundreds of people. One expert we spoke to said, setting fire to chemical weapons is a good way to destroy them if you want to do so quickly. But he said there is, of course, a chance of collateral damage and casualties on the ground, but probably a smaller chance of contamination. Israel says it's carrying out these operations to stop weapons falling into the hands of extremists, following the overthrow of the Assad regime. What impact that will have on the wider region remains to be seen.
5 years after his indictment on 3 separate corruption charges, Benjamin Netanyahu is finally appearing in court. Ministers of his party and right-wing coalition are attending in solidarity.
I'm sure of his innocence, and I am sure that his innocence will be proven.
This is a polarizing case in Israel, fueling what Netanyahu's opponents say is his campaign to complete a judicial coup and undermine the press. In right-wing circles, anger for now is aimed mostly at the Attorney General who brought the charges.
From my perspective, there is a volatile situation in the files here. And I'm also expecting from my colleagues, the ministers, not only to talk against the Attorney General, but also to send her home.
Outside the courthouse, a mixed crowd. Supporters angry at what they say is a witch hunt against Netanyahu. and protesters also angry at what they view as the man's selfish campaign to stay in power at any cost, including the lives of captives in Gaza. Benjamin Netanyahu is fighting for his freedom and political future in Israel and abroad. Aside from this case, he's also wanted by the ICC on war crimes charges. But as long as his right-wing coalition holds, Netanyahu's endless wars and territorial expansion in the region will likely continue. Noor Al Jazeera, Amman.
You were listening to the WINN FM 98.9 newscast. Our top stories were:
neglect to implement grid code and battery energy storage systems. Dr. Jensen Morton anticipates that the digitization of St. Kitts and Nevis's health system would be a hallmark achievement.
Traffic Department issues traffic flow instructions for the opening of Sugar Mass 53 and Midnight Escape. Future engagements, SIDS on the path to COP30. Fatal shooting in Castries, St. Lucia heightens crime concerns. Guyana government wants faster results in the fight against corruption in the country. Internationally, Israel confirms attack on Syrian naval fleet. Thank you for listening.